You are tuned in to What Up Baltimore online radio. Please note that the views and opinions expressed on this channel are of the host and not of Lady J Media. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, What Up Baltimore TV. And if you really don't want to miss any of the shows, hit that notification bell and you'll get a message every time we come on. Now, we got it from here, so sit back, relax, and stay tuned. Y'all ready? Let's go. Nobody that was watching, I hope y'all ain't stressing out, because when we all get off the camera, we done forgot it.
Shit, I'm going to go eat. I'm about to go have dinner.
I heard somebody call me one night after the show. They was like, Lady J, are you okay? And I'm trying to think, what happened? And they were talking about the show because people were going on for the show. I had totally forgotten about it. I'm laying across the bed watching the movie. This is what this show is about. We just come on here, we have fun, we chop it up, we have fun. We can argue and fuss about what's going on in Memphis, New York, California, all these other places, but we got children, blood on the street. We had 2 babies shot over the weekend. Their mother just passed away. Where is the protest?
We're not gonna have a protest about that because we don't see. Here's the thing.
How do you close the door? How do you close the door?
To you real quick. Baltimore is a city that has been broken down, but generation after generation after generation. We have allowed folks that look like us, that's supposed to be about our business, to treat us worse than other folks that don't look like us. We have gotten to the point where we are desensitized. We do not value you, me, the next door neighbor, or anybody else. That is why, follow me on this one. That is why we will have a protest for somebody else that got killed by an officer or by Mickey Mouse across the country before we have a protest about somebody right here, because the nigga right here don't matter.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the show, Moms Demand Action. This is a new show. It's on Dr. J's platform also. So I'm just going to say hi to everybody. Miss Elaine, Darlene, Miss Gwen Levi, I know her, Cindy Camp, and then Kiki Collins. I'm going to look immediately to Miss Elaine to tell the listening audience about Moms Demand Action. Tell us what this organization is about.
Thank you, Joyce. It's so nice to be here and really appreciate this opportunity to just chat with you about what we do. Moms Demand Action is a national grassroots gun violence prevention group. What we do is attack gun violence in all its forms. Our goal is to end gun violence. We do this through advocacy of legislation. We do this by talking to gun owners about secure gun storage. We do it by raising awareness about the problem of gun violence. And we also do it by supporting and uplifting the voices of survivors. Survivors of gun violence carry a special burden because the loss is so sudden and so complete, and it is something that you do not get over. And it is critical that they're movement because they know what it's going to take to stop it, and they know how important it is. And the real mission is to show that these aren't just numbers. The numbers are horrifying enough, but the stories behind those numbers and what we've lost is sad and absolutely unacceptable. And particularly here in Baltimore City, there's some positive things happening. and some people doing a lot of work every day to address the situation. And we want to uplift that work and support
Okay.
it wherever we can.
Okay, I understand. I misstepped. I spoke out of turn. This is not a new show. I'm not saying that you guys can't have a show, but you are Dr. J's guest tonight on WUBO. So I'm going to go ahead and talk to some of these ladies. Okay, Miss Darlene, tell me what your affiliation with the group is. Yeah, unmute your mic.
Good evening. Thank you for having us on the show tonight. So I'm a faith lead, and faith lead is when all different nationalities and churches get together, and we also lobby. We also march, against the violence as well, and so just making sure that people are in agreement for making gun sense in America. We want to make sure that people know that we want to do all we can to prevent gun violence and to keep our community safe and our children safe.
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to go from right to left. So if you're not, I just hear this back. Okay, so Ms. Kiki, tell me what your affiliation is with the group.
Hi, I am Baltimore City Survivor Membership Lead.
Okay.
And basically, we're here to support other survivors on this journey. And that's basically what I do every day anyway. But I also join my sisters in lobbying and whatever else I can help out with. But my main focus for me, that's personal for me, is just to help other women and families that's on this journey.
Okay. So Cindy, tell me what your affiliation is. I see you have, you're a volunteer for the group.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
there
we can
you
have
go.
a voice. Yeah, so we can have our voice heard, especially as Black women in the community and people of color. It's important that we be heard from and not silenced.
Exactly. I agree with that. And Miss Gwen, I know you all too well. Miss Gwen was in DC protesting with us on Saturday. No more wars, be the people, not the Pentagon. So that's what we were doing on Saturday, where I'm also a member of the People's Power Assembly. And Miss Gwen's going to be a new member. And tell me, Miss Gwen, you're interested in Moms Demand Action. Are you interested in that group, especially with all the violence that's going on in Baltimore City?
Mother of young people in Baltimore City, and I see the devastation that's being created. I also see that many of the mothers who should be there are now incarcerated. So I deal with incarcerated mothers, mostly incarcerated women. And I just want to just be able to put some empathy into the situation for them who are missing in action because they can't be here to speak out for what's going on with their kids. So I'm here to just be a voice, an unchained voice, because I once was in their place inside. So I want to be able to be a voice for the people who are inside, to let them know that we're here and we're trying to look out for your kids while you're in there.
And it's very, very hard. Okay, so maybe you ladies heard on the news this morning, our new governor was on CNN and he talked about how the murder rate is going down in Baltimore. He talked about how the Baltimore police, they're making strides, how the police in Maryland are, they solved 8 murders out of 53. I think that's it because I don't want to quote the numbers incorrectly. So, Ms. Elaine, tell me how you feel about that. Do you feel that that's an accurate statement as far as the gun violence is concerned?
Well, I'm not an investigative reporter, nor am I on the BPD to verify the numbers. So I don't want to dismiss the numbers that are being given out by the governor. I'm sure they have basis in something, but that's not my area of expertise. But I would say that what we've seen is that there's an increasing number of youth getting access to guns and using them with deadly outcomes. So there has been an uptick in that. And I think, there are so many good solutions out there for that kind of thing. I think it would be good to turn to Cindy and have her talk a little bit about the idea of conflict resolution that she has been mentioning several times, and something that we'd like to advocate for. If you don't mind my redirecting the
absolutely, you can redirect me. Yes. That's fine. That's not a problem. So, Cindy, go ahead and talk about that conflict resolution. So, is it conflict resolution? Mediation? Tell me about that.
Well, because I live in the heart of the city, it's a lot of murders in my neighborhood.
So, if you don't mind, would you tell me which area you live in? West, east?
I live in the Goldens community, which is northeast Baltimore.
Okay, I live in Goldens now.
Yes, and it's a lot of murders in my community, and so that concerns me. I have grandchildren, so I was thinking that, and also being part of my York Road community partnership, I was talking to a couple of the police, and there's always like an ongoing beef that nobody really understands. So I realized that part of what's going on in our culture is that they don't know how to solve their problems without the violence.
Right.
So I was thinking that in the schools, if they were, and a lot of it is definitely coming from schools that go onto the streets. So I was thinking, if instead of suspending the kids, how about putting them in conflict resolution? And I think that would also help in the neighborhood as well, because a lot of stuff, like I said before, comes from the school and into the neighborhood, and then it carries on from neighborhood to neighborhood. Then it comes from social media. So being in another generation, sometimes we don't quite understand what the youth are fighting about, what the dispute is about. But I think if we can get some kind of resolution, or get them together, get the parents together, let's sit down and talk about it. So maybe it's some mental health challenges, peer pressure. It's so many things that we can target inside our communities that will help our youth not become just products of the environment. Because I can't tell you how many young people I know who have lost their life to senseless gun violence.
Right, exactly. Anybody else I know I have a personal situation wherein, a family member was gunned down, not necessarily young people, but Miss Kiki, you want to talk about that? Just the violence. And so, I'm going to ask a question at the end of the show. I always try to ask a question that's going to make all of us put a little bit of thought into it just before we end. But go ahead, Miss Kiki, talk about that. This violence that's going on.
Well, I was personally affected. My middle son, Dante Collins, was murdered July 31st, 2016.
Okay.
Prior to that, I did not know a lot of people that was murdered, but I had sympathy and empathy for those that was affected.
Right.
Once
absolutely.
I was personally affected, the trauma that comes from that, it forces you to find an anchor. It forces you to find help. It forces you to lean on or grab hold of something. So Moms Demand Action was right there, right in the beginning of my journey. Since then, my boots have been on the ground. I've been fighting.
Yes.
But in the midst of us fighting, what most don't realize who have not been on this journey is that we still fall. We still hit a brick wall. So we still have to have the resources and everything, and the support from not only the community, but from a whole. Everyone should be affected by what's going on, whether you were personally affected or not. If it's happening in your community, if it's happening to people in the churches, everywhere, we should be angry. But what's so sad is most people, my opinion, this is not Moms Demand Action opinion, my opinion, the outrage is not until it's someone that's that's well known, or their parent belongs to this, group or whatever. And it's sad. It's sad. Why can't we have the outrage for all of our children?
Right,
They
right,
are our future.
right.
What are we showing them? We're showing them it's okay. They at one time we said how, oh, they think it's a video game.
No,
My
that's
opinion, I don't believe that. What is so sad is once you pull that trigger, once you knife, whatever, once you commit that crime, that's it. There's no coming back.
right.
And
Especially for the person on the other end of the gun.
yes.
Yeah. Yes. Miss Joyce,
Yes.
um, two things. One, we're talking about the after effects. We're talking about after the gun is pulled, after the shot is fired.
Right, right, right.
I would hope that we take time tonight to present some solutions to not getting those guns fired. What the young lady said about conflict resolution was a direct step forward. I'd also like to suggest mediation
Right.
along with that conflict resolution. And there are organizations that are already doing these things. I mean, we don't have to keep reinventing the wheel every time we come and meet. Start something new. Let's pull these organizations that are already out there and demand that they be allowed to come into our schools. Demand that they be allowed to, not demand, but ask our ministers to invite them to church. If we don't get the kids, and maybe we can get to the parents who will go back home and talk to their kids. It's the disconnect. And it's a disconnect where we already have a lot of people already working, already doing what we need to be done, but we're not connecting. We keep starting. Let's use what we got. We have it right here in Baltimore. There are many organizations.
Right.
Today, I wrote about an organization of men walking to stop the violence in the community. A group of men just walking through their community. You know, so let's come up with some solutions that we can push forward.
Right. I understand that. And so, but what we're laying the groundwork, and I know you know a lot of those organizations, Miss Gwen, if you could jot those down, and then intermittently we'll talk about some of those. But I do want to hear from Miss Darlene. And now we all know, you know, Miss Gwen is very familiar, as I'm sure all of the ladies are familiar with, you know, the crime and the killings that are going on in these schools. And so what I think, you know, we're taking a step forward in that we're talking about it.
Yes, of course.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, we're having this dialogue, you know. So go ahead. So, Miss Darlene, you can make a comment on anything that you want to. Go ahead. Go ahead. So, Ms. Gwen, I do need you to write those organizations down, okay? Go ahead.
So, speaking on the crime in school, you know, like Cindy said, you know, they're immature right now, and they need a whole lot of solutions to help them with being able to take care of their anger and their frustrations. One thing I suggest that I learned through my journey is deep breathing. That maybe when they come in, they could just have a woosah moment, or like we used to do a long time ago. The teachers used to tell us, "Oh, everybody get up and stretch your arms and sit back down," because you sit in the seat for long. We expect them to go to school after we know that they lost loved ones in the family. We expect them to go to school when we know they lost their friends, and they know that it's a shooting in the school yesterday, and everybody's telling us, "Oh, you know, get yourself together, go back to school, everything gonna be okay." But you don't even know if you're gonna be okay, and your parents are afraid that when you go in the door, if you're gonna come back out the door the way you went in. So anything that's dealing with health and wellness, anything that's dealing with health and wellness is the key. That's what I see right now. And so I practice it every day, because once I lost Dale, I was just skin and bones, just laying around. I just didn't know what to do.
So you lost also,
I lost
or
my
a
son
family
in
member?
2008. Dale Graham. I lost my son in 2008 to Baltimore City Police. I didn't know nothing about resources. I didn't know where to go. I just laid there, cried, and until I finally got out here and met organizations, and I finally went to DC and I met Moms Demand Action in DC. I live in Baltimore City, and then I had to find out, how we can get things done in Baltimore through a local chapter. So I started being more active in Baltimore City. So what I'm saying is, like, the children, you expect them to take a test and, just do like nothing never happened. Something did happen. They lost their loved one. They lost their friend that used to sit next to them at the desk. So we got to come to other ideas, to help them, to want to not only go to school, but we have to have things to deal with their emotions. We got to help them with that, because that's a lot. That's a lot on us at home. You at home, you
Adults,
crying with your
yeah.
loved one, and then you tell the child society is telling the children and us it's time to go back to work. It's time for them to go back to school. And that's when the counseling comes in. We need a whole lot of counseling with these kids. And we have to meet them where they are, because some people don't understand that with the frustrations that the kids and people have, we're all different types of people. We speak differently, we act differently, and we respond differently. So you may have people in the group that might want to do a lot of cussing, and you might say, "Oh my God, how are we going to help them?" You got to just respect them where they are. This is how they feeling. This is what they going through. You got to let them go ahead and punch that punching bag.
I
And then when they
agree.
finally feel that trust and they know that you're there for now and that you're not going to go anywhere, then that's when things will become a little bit more different, more calmer, and we can understand one another and we can have a conversation. But you got to meet them where they are.
Absolutely. A lot of,
You got to
I
meet them
hear
right where they are.
many.
Even the teenagers. I talk to the teenagers and they be cursing. And people be like, "Oh my God." I said, that's how they feeling. That's what they going through. If we don't allow them to talk, we don't allow them to say how they feeling, it's going to be balled up like a knot in their chest. So
Yeah,
we got to be there to help them to release it the best way that we can, and best way to let them, get it out as well.
absolutely. So I think, somebody said, great job, Miss Darling. Yeah, great job, darling. I can't even pronounce it. Haki Shakur Omni. Is that right? Ami. Say great job, Darlene. Absolutely. Okay, so Miss Elaine, jump in there and talk about, what are you feeling about the crime in Baltimore? I know I have some very staunch opinions about what's going on, and I do agree with Miss Darlene. Okay, so somebody gets killed in a school, and then they may have counselors on site for 2 days, and then these kids are pushed right back into school in that same environment. So talk about that, Miss Elaine. Go ahead.
Thank you, Joyce. And I just want to point out, Darlene didn't mention that she's been to Annapolis and advocating for a bill on victims services to improve access, because right now it's very difficult. The process is extremely laborious. If you get the money at all, you've spent a year or two, if it ever comes at all. And right now there's legislation pending, and she was there testifying. We have a number of people who have stepped up and are doing great work and using the research and evidence to do that. There's other legislation as well that I can talk about in a little bit if you'd like. But I think that that's an important role that Darlene, Kiki, Cindy have readily stepped into, and that's into being a presence in Annapolis and, as Darlene mentioned, in DC. So I think it's an incredible, statement to save other children as well as trying to preserve the city. As far as the incidents of crime and how to address it, one of the things that we've seen is that there can be a cycle of retaliation, and that leads to greater devastation because of that. And that's a good reason, another good reason that we look at victim services to get people help as soon as that they've experienced this, so that they have some resources put at their disposal, can pay for basic needs, because they lose their job because of the devastation and trauma it rails, that to have some a network of support provided on a basis that's very easy to access is critical to that. So that's one piece of the puzzle. There's trauma-informed care that is being advocated from the Elijah Cummings Act that was put through the City Council a couple of years ago. And we just had the Healing City Summit this weekend that uplifted all those partners that are doing trauma-informed care and talked about the experience at the library where they got the trauma-informed training and have completely changed the experience in the library. We can do that in schools. We can do that in government departments. We can do that across the city. And we just need to rev it up so that it's faster at meeting the needs. It's the work that's being done, and we have partners that have extensive youth programming. Let's Thrive Baltimore is putting out youth programs. We've got No Boundaries Coalition youth organizers. These students came with us to Annapolis and actually spoke in front of 400 Moms Demand Action volunteers and the press, and did it with such passion and clarity. Having the students involved in their own solutions and listening to them and implementing them is a big part of treating what's happening in schools. One of the young women who spoke was from the Edmondson High School that had been so recently traumatized by those shootings of 5 young men. One of them died, and she expressed herself clearly. She told what she needs for support, and it's not just counselors hanging around. It's a lot of people, that whole village to help.
Right, it's a network. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I just think that there's so much hope in Baltimore City, and that we have to keep emphasizing it and keep bringing it forward and keep advancing it and keep asking our legislators to do the right thing. And we have the ideas. When you talk to Cindy, when you talk to Kiki and Darlene, the ideas are all there right here. It's now let's get them out there. So I think that that's a big part of having the students have a voice and making sure that they're heard.
Absolutely. So I see the connection because Miss Gwen and Dr. Jade and Miss Van are always in Annapolis. So I see the connection now. So Miss Gwen, can you talk a little bit about the Injury Compensation Board?
Okay, I just wrote it down. That's one of the bills that we were lobbying for this year it's already there. But who knows about it? Not many.
Not many.
A lot of us, and not many. And we just had I guess we call it a focus group to talk about why people don't know about it and how we can get it more known. If there's a victims compensation board, if you've been a victim, you can apply. It will help you with your rent, unnecessary bills, unforeseen bills, not unnecessary, but unforeseen bills. It can help you with getting that mental health support that you need. But we don't know about it. Not many people are taking advantage of it. So those are the kind of things that I think we as an organization, just like she just said, lobbying down in Annapolis. We've been down there all this session. Today was a very important day in Annapolis. A lot of bills got left behind today.
Wow.
Quite a few bills that we thought had enough votes. We had been down all this session lobbying for, talking to people. We thought there were enough votes, and some of them didn't even get called up today. So we were kind of like in a state of shock today about what happened, and we're going down there Wednesday. It's called Advocacy Day. Okay. It's a lobby day. Okay. It's a day that we go down and we lobby organizations, a lot of nonprofits, a lot of community leaders. We're all going to be down in Annapolis talking to these legislators, talking to them, asking them, what more do we have to do? How many more of our kids have to die before we can get these bills passed? How many more losses do we have to suffer through before some of these bills are passed? We'll try to get a compassionate release bill. An ombudsman bill. There's several different bills, not directly related to violence.
Well, one thing
But they
Would you?
all connect. They all interconnect. They all are issues that deal with our people, our citizens, our communities. They touch us on a first name, first come, first son, first daughter, only mother, only grandmother basis. We have to not just let the legislators know, but let our communities become informed. So we're asking, just like this show is, it's going to be informative. It's letting people know what's out there, the conflict resolution process, the mediation process, the just knowing that Moms Demand Action is there. There are several other groups. Moms of Murdered Sons. That was one of the first groups I met when I first came home. There are many, and so just making sure that our community, this is, like you say, that first step, letting people know what's available, letting people know that this dialogue is not just starting today, but will continue.
Absolutely. And we do have a caller. Caller, are you there? Caller? Okay, so we'll move on. We'll go back to the caller.
Say it again.
Okay.
Can they hear me now?
Yes, ma'am. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, yes, I agree with all that my poignant Sister Healers have conveyed tonight, Moms Demand Action. I was having technical difficulty. I'm with Moms Demand Action. I'm Chaplain Denise Reed, Survivor Membership Co-Lead for the state of Maryland. And I salute you, Miss Gwen, and I salute you, Lady J. I met Lady J last February at a women's Wear Many Hats conference in Baltimore, and she's strong, she's resilient, as is the platform. I met Miss Gwen with another organization with Nicole Mundell. So I celebrate and salute your strength. I've lost loved ones over 40 years. My son in 2009, my nephew in 2020, my uncle in the 80s, his girlfriend, my 16-year-old cousin in the 80s, all died from gun violence. My mother, my sister, and my nephew were all shot in the 1990s. But for the grace of God, he has, given me peace and healing and hope, and actually forgiveness for the 3 young men that shot my precious son.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I want to, thank my amazing sisters, and just what Cindy said. My nephew is the one was shot in the 90s in Annapolis in the chest, and God has delivered him after 35 years, and we cannot give up whatever it takes, as Cindy said, mental health, the love, the support. The Lord has birthed a ministry in my spirit January of this year, and it's called Love Brigade Boots on the Ground. And Elaine can attest, even recently last month, I put on my gear, went outside, talked to the young people in love, and they be outside till like 4 or 5 in the morning on Valentine's morning. I went out there, I said, good morning, beautiful people. I said, happy Valentine's Day. I had some New Testament Bibles. I shared it with the young men. I gave them some cologne I had over from Christmas. I said, could you all please hold the noise down, please, because I have to get up, in about 2 hours. The only thing they said, yes, ma'am. I've gone out there several times, 4 o'clock, 4:30 in the morning, 3:30, and they give me nothing but respect, because what you give out, you give back.
Absolutely.
May I add too about Denise's role? Last year we had a bill that we've been working on for 4 years on banning ghost guns, which has been a blight on the city, and ghost guns are one of the highest recovery weapons in that BPD reports out in their seizures, that they kept finding more and more every year, and the number of ghost guns had increased exponentially. And so finally, last year, we had a major push. Denise was one of the keynote speakers at our advocacy day prior to our legislative activity, and we ended up passing that bill after 4 years. So my message is not to give up. We have more bills this year that are coming out and did make crossover. What Ms. Gwen was referring to was today was crossover day. If one of the bills doesn't pass one of the houses by today, it's very unlikely that it will make it through by the end of the session.
Wow.
So we have 2 that made it through each house that are very critical. One is addressing access to handguns, to the wear and carry permits, to define better who can carry them and where they can carry them. This is very important because our laws were weakened after a Supreme Court decision. So it's very critical we get that through this year. And if anyone wants to get involved in that kind of effort to see that through, that's what we're here for. And another bill is to advocate for secure gun storage at home so that these children are not getting easy access to firearms. And those are both very critical. We had, though, two others that didn't make it. One is to hold the gun industry accountable. We're hoping that we've educated the legislators and that next year we can make some more progress with that. And the other one was to address police qualified immunity, because in the police reform bill passed last year, qualified immunity was left off. That allows for misbehavior by police officers. They're shielded from being civilly liable.
Wow.
So that's the kind of thing that we do. And these are the women that are standing up and saying, this is important to pass, and giving testimony to that. So again, I'm so glad Denise called in, because we were missing her voice, and she has, and also has done so much for survivors of gun violence. We have many programs that help survivors. You can connect to peers, provide connection like Miss Kiki does. And I really want to make sure she talks about her organization, No Other Mother, and Darlene, really important organizations.
Okay, so we haven't heard much from the young lady from Govans. Do you have anything to add to the conversation? I saw you shaking your head as I was. Go ahead. And
what's happening with the youth and the crime that's going on in the city. So like you, I'm really concerned about whether or not we are targeting the areas that we need to, and whether or not the gun violence and the deaths are going down. So, I mean, it's nice. I think that the governor is awesome. I'm glad that he won, and I'm gonna give him a chance. This is new. So, yeah. So, but what I will say is that our mayor and the police department have a lot of work to do, and I am discouraged. A lot of times we talk about the consent decree, and I don't feel like enough is being done. So for me, who live in the inner city, and I see all the death and all the trauma with all these ladies on here, myself, I realize how traumatized I am every night when my son doesn't. If he comes in late, I'm anxious. I'm worried. I'm concerned. If he goes to the gas station, I'm worried. I'm anxious. So that's a lot of trauma, especially on Black women. I feel like we are definitely over traumatized. Our children are dying out. Our men are dying. And I just feel like that we don't get enough focus on that. And we feel like we're alone.
Right.
And so I just implore anyone that's listening, especially women, moms, grandmas, men, because Moms Demand Action, we welcome men as well, to just please get involved. I know you're exhausted, and sometimes exhaustion can cripple us, but our children are counting on us, and they need us. And not only our children, but our community. So we just need to step up. And I'm imploring everyone to maybe come out, get involved. Everybody can do something.
Right. Everybody can. Right. If we say one person, that's huge. That's huge. We need to really get to these kids, and like she was saying, like we have to get in on their level. We can't always just throw church or whatever, just keep throwing it in their face. Okay, so they're going to get it eventually, but why not talk to them on a level where they can reach it? Like, I feel you, I can grab that. I can grab that, and I can hold on to it and try to just, make my life better, a young person, each one reach one. That's what I'm saying. Like if a child is 15 and they have a gun, if they have a 19-year-old brother, maybe the 19-year-old brother should be going to the parents and saying, hey, ma, little brother has a gun, and I think you should, say something about that, I know we live in this culture where you're not supposed to snitch, and I'm sure that would probably cause some conflict between the brothers, but somebody else, jump in there and comment. What can we do about that particular, scenario? Because Miss Gwen?
I think one of the things we can do is clarify snitching.
Okay, go ahead.
There's a difference between snitching and allowing harm and allowing the harm done to you to be corrected.
Okay.
There's a difference in snitching. If you and I go commit a crime, I get caught, I tell on you. That's snitching.
Right.
You shoot my neighbor and I see you. That's not snitching. You beat me up, you jump me, and I don't tell. That's not snitching.
Right.
If harm's done for me, I'm supposed to do everything I can to make sure that harm is not done, not only to me, but to no anyone else again.
Exactly.
That's the right that I have. I have that right to tell who did something to me. You have that right to tell who did something to you. That is not snitching.
Right.
And we need to make some of these young people understand the difference between the two.
Right. We do. But that culture does exist. That culture does exist. Oh, okay. So we have about 15 minutes. Miss Kiki, you want to talk about just some of the other things that are going on. You've been to Annapolis. What else can we do?
Support is big. That mindset on when I was younger, it takes a village. We need that village back.
Okay.
We need that village. But not only do we need that village back for our children, we need that village back for our moms and our dads, because it starts at the top. And I'm going to preach till I take my last breath. Our mothers are the pillars of the community. Mm-hmm. We have to continue to go to work. We have to continue to be mothers. We have to continue to be wives and girlfriends and daughters and whatever else, and carry so much.
And support
when you don't have that support, sometimes you lack in the overseeing your child and what they are doing. And I will not put all the blame on the household, but we do have to take accountability in the household as well. And if we have so many traumatized mothers and fathers, where are we placing the love and direction and other things that our children need? Like, where do they come in? If we're focused on trying to heal us, or not even heal, most people not trying to heal, they're just trying to survive.
Yeah. I want to read a comment that relates to that too.
Right. So if we're trying to survive, a lot of times our focus is not on rearing our children and making sure that they're okay, unfortunately.
Exactly.
So my biggest thing is we need the support. We need the village. We need that in the community. We need it in the churches. We need it wherever we can get it. And that is the big thing for me. I just believe that it starts with our moms and our dads getting what they need so the children can get what they need. If we don't have conflict resolutions for ourselves, the kids are only looking at what the adults have been doing, and they only do it better, right? Or do more of it. Right. And that has been since I was younger. So we're seeing more of what the guys was out here selling drugs on the corners, killing and all of that. Even though it was generations and generations ago, someone saw it and it just kept going. And unfortunately, we're here. We're here now.
True.
So now it's yes. And I do think you have to keep reinventing the wheel. You do. Nothing stays the same. everything changes. So if you want to hold on to what we have been doing, but keep incorporating new things, we can't stay the same. You can clearly see we can't, because not a lot from my statistics. From my,
Right.
I can't say about anybody else's, but from what I see and a lot of people that I talk to on a regular basis, not a lot has changed. It
Right.
has only increased, in my opinion.
Okay, so I'm going to read some of these comments. I feel like everyone is paralyzed by fear and trauma in this city. Before we recover from one thing, something else happens. And I do have to agree with that. You know, we don't get, you're shaking your head. Mom, you want to comment on that? Yep. It's the truth. It's the truth. We can't regroup. Go ahead.
By the time you try to bounce back, you get another phone call, or you get a call from a friend that's close to you, like a family member, and you back to where you started. Like, oh my God, like, what do we do? How do we go through this? How do we make it? You know, what
How
can
do
we
we
do?
do?
And that's the seem how it be. But like Kiki and everyone else says, we need that village back, because when that happens to us, we need everybody's shoulder to cry on,
True.
everybody to help us to stand back up and, you know, get back together. I mean, we got to make sure that we eat and check on each other, and not just text after the funeral or come and see you a month later. Like, we need those phone calls, we need those visits, because it's a
Constantly.
time where you just so fragile. You're so fragile at that time. And, you know, that's the time that we really need the help. So that's why we tell people, you can have a funeral of 2, 3, 4, 500 people. That's great. You know, everybody came, everybody showed up and showed out. But then as the days go on and you looking out that window and you
Yeah,
just
it's
looking
sort of
at the
that
sky,
support
you know,
dwindles.
it's like you don't know
Mhm.
your next move. You don't know what to do. You don't know somebody gonna say, here's a call for a resource. You just there. You just existing.
True. I agree with
It's
that.
a double whammy. It's a double
Yeah.
whammy. And it's a lot. It's a lot.
So I think Dr. Joy is saying, as a Black woman, she's constantly praying that her son returns home safely. And she says the fear is real. Yeah. And it absolutely is. Denise Reed says, bless you, Sister Chaplain Lady J, for your compassion, resilience, and inspiration to our beautiful Baltimore. Okay. We are stronger together. I absolutely agree with that too. I think as moms, we all, you know, we have that common ground because we are mothers, and because we are, you know, we're trying, we're holding on. We're just, you know, we're doing this on a day-to-day basis, you know, and a lot of times, you know, we do know people. We like I'm intimately involved with the 9-year-old who killed somebody. And so it's so hard. And we have to somehow try to get some of these parents to be accountable for their children. Now, there are circumstances, and I know there are circumstances where folks are not, these children are going and they're searching for these guns. You know, that's another topic for a whole other show. But I do know that there are circumstances, but we have to like support each other. You know, I always hear it. You know, you help me pull the line, you pull your weight, and I'll pull mine. We have to somehow merge all of these thoughts. Miss Gwen, I need to see your face. So if you'll fix your camera, we have to okay, so maybe we're not going to reinvent the wheel, but we're going to put some spokes in the wheel here, there, everywhere, so that we are absolutely united. We have to be on the same page. We have to be on the same page. We can't walk around thinking, you know, it's a Govans issue. It's a West Baltimore issue. It's a Poplar Grove issue. It is, it's a Fells Point issue. It is everybody's issue. And I'm passionate about it because it makes me sad. This is my city. I love Baltimore City. And I'm going to let you ladies talk. I'm going to let you ladies talk because I'm just filling in for Dr. J. And I do. We have about 7 minutes. Okay, so let's go across the board. Final comment, Miss Elaine.
Well, I wanted to say that your passion is so important to moving forward. And if you're in the right audience, just in this little room that we can see, and let alone your big audience out there, that's absolutely critical to going forward. There are things you can do. I would just encourage you to take the example of these women here. When you look at history, it's Women's History Month. Black women have been the organizers, the motivators, the community glue, not just for this generation, but back decades and generations. And that inspiration is so important because this is tough and it is hard work. And that's that's the core, is that we have to recognize it is hard work. And in doing so, we have to say, give yourself a little break. Every once in a while, find joy. And I do find joy with these women and in community, that they don't go into a room and it's doom and gloom. It's, what action can we take? What can we do? What do you want me to do? Roll your sleeves up, get it done. And now let's go and have sit down at a coffee shop and enjoy each other's company.
Change.
So that's my message: is take care of yourself and take that moment to find joy. This is an inspirational group. It's just to find joy and laugh and have fun moments with each other. And that's a big part of this work. This is not going to be a sprint. It's a relay race, and we have to take our turn to get a break. So thank you all for that.
Working at it. Absolutely. Dr. J says, I'm praying for those of you who are on the show. Thank you for continuing to stand strong. You are a blessing. And she also wants to let everybody know about Advocacy Day on 322, 930 Annapolis State House. Miss Gwen, you're going to be there. I'm sure you are.
Yes, we are. We got a bus going from Out for Justice, 1400 Federal Street. We leave at 8:30 that morning. Yes, we will be there. We have many organizations, but if you have the time, come join us. There's space on the bus. If you want to drive down, you can meet us down there. We start at 9:30. We're going to have a tour of the State House. You'll get to meet some of your legislators, and they're going to come and speak with us. We're going to march. Only a couple blocks, so don't fear. Only a couple blocks, and we're going to let them know that our communities are actively engaged in this legislative process, and that we know what we need in our community, and we're down here to ask for it.
Absolutely. Tanya Flowers is praying for everybody. Denise Reed says, praying fervently for our serenity, strength, protection. Faith will always overcome fear that tries to immobilize the gift that's birthed in our souls. We are overcomers. Thank you, Miss Denise, for that comment. Everybody, okay, so come on. We have about 3 minutes. Final comment.
Well, like Elaine said, we still have to allow ourselves to live, and we have to still be able to, have joy in our hearts. So I'm going to say the movement that I like to pass on to everybody is forgiveness. That takes the toxic out of us. And also love. Pass love to one another, because love always wins over everything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Above all things, love. Corinthians. Absolutely. Go ahead.
Cindy.
Yes, Cindy.
For me, I would say never underestimate planting a little seed. Our kids watch us and they emulate us. So if you have an opportunity to mentor youth or somebody else that may need help, you may be the only example that they have. So please take the opportunity to reach out and assist in any way you can. And that's how we heal together.
Absolutely. Children learn what they live. Absolutely. Go ahead, Miss Kiki. Final comment.
I just want to thank you, ladies. This is so needed, but also that I want to piggyback on everything that they said. We have to start somewhere, and we have to stick together and just let our not only community but our children know that it is hope. It is hope,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know, and we don't want them to lose hope. But in the midst of trying to, the trauma and everything, we do have to get that love back, that love and that togetherness back in our community.
Absolutely. I agree. Ladies, thank you so much for coming on the show. Dr. J thanks you. I thank you. We all thank you for coming on the platform tonight. I am just absolutely going to let you guys know I support you. Whatever you need me to do, absolutely. Dr. J will let you know how to get in touch with me. You can even come on my show every other Tuesday, Conversations with Joy B, and we'll absolutely have another dialogue. Thank you, ladies. Good night, everybody. Be blessed.
Thank you. Good night.
You're welcome.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Just wanted to let you know that the host of this show appreciates the time that you've spent with them. Now, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel so you can keep up with everything that we're doing. And most of all, thank you for tuning in to What Up Baltimore online radio, where the people have the power.